Moss, have you watched this movie called Past Lives? Have you heard of it?
No.
I kept seeing it coming up on my timeline. I even saw the actor doing a press tour and I couldn't understand, but people were holding it in such high regard.
What is it about?
So it's about, and I finally watched it on a flight and I cried, and I'll explain why. It's a very beautiful story about a boy and a girl who have childhood friends. She relocates to the US. It's Korean American. She relocates when she's maybe 11, 12 with her family. And then years later, I think when she's in uni, he finds her through Facebook and they start Skyping. And they have a very natural connection. Like they're best friends from childhood, but it's more, and over time you begin to see that they're developing feelings for each other, or that the feelings were probably always there. Then you can tell they get frustrated, so they go off again. 10 years later, she's married, he's moved on, he's still living in Korea. Then he's visiting the US and he reaches out. And then you realize there was all these buried emotions. And so long story short, she's able to go with her husband and him for dinner, but there's a scene where they're really kind of unearthing, like, what if, I've often thought about you. And when he leaves, she even cries on her husband's shoulder, because I think the husband can tell, maybe he was liberal, that it's like an unresolved, like you're grieving a part of you that is now gone. Because I think him coming to the US allowed them to have the conversation, and they know they can't be together. She's married, he lives in another country, so I think she was grieving.
So it's like missing out?
Missing out, or just being like, man, what if this was my soulmate? Can I tell you what I did after I watched the movie?
You see...
No, say what you're going to say, then I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are different levels. Maybe one, overly thinking how it could have been if they were together.
Yeah.
Number two is comparison. Seeing this dude has attributes which the husband lacks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And like, because they had a very unique connection because it's from childhood and it's the same culture.
Then there's something with childhood, especially when you're a teenager. Every feeling is very raw.
And it still shows up when you're an adult.
Yes. So, it's the best feeling you ever felt of that kind with that person, and they were the first.
Okay.
So
yeah, okay.
You want to relive those moments.
Yes. Okay, now you've... oh, gosh. Okay, most just has to get deep. So you know what I did? I called someone. There's somebody who's kind of... It made me realize the reason why that movie does something to people is that it makes you remember that person, right? Or there's been that moment with that person, like the what-if person, the person who, as they famously say, they got away. Although most people move on. Yes, it was Charlie, it was beautiful, but now I'm with the person I really love and I'm spending time with them. And I did an entire rewind of somebody who we kind of were together in a way in high school, years later. At every juncture in my life, he was there. And at the bare minimum, we're very good friends. So I called him, and I was like, hey, why do you think we never ended up together?
Wow.
I know. Because Janet likes to chocha, so he's just like, oh, I'm like, first I put a disclaimer. So I said, hey, I want to ask you something, and it's not supposed to be offensive or confusing. I'm just curious, why do you think? And I think it's for many reasons. You can imagine the first time you were together, you were really young, you were like a teenager. So it came down to maybe we just were not mature enough, or at every time when we would find ourselves crossing paths again, maybe you wanted it more than I did, or I wanted it more than you did. So we just never were able to, even though we would have times when we were technically together, somebody would always step back because I'm not ready, or this is too much for me, or I'm too busy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And now here you are. You're both grown, and I was just like...
there's the joy of chasing something that is not really getting into your hands.
Sometimes I feel like that's problematic because it means there's a joy with something that's not achievable. You're chasing...
Like something that you're not really getting. And that's life. You're always chasing a life that you're not living now. Something higher. You're
chasing something higher. And you're also chasing the thought of
yeah,
what
the
it could
thought
be.
of what it could be.
Yeah.
Well, in real life,
Yeah.
it might not turn out to be what you thought.
And this is why I like what you've just said. Because after that entire conversation, he was like, how do you feel now? I said, I mean, I feel fine. I feel like we've had, then we were like, but is this really closure? Because we're now friends, right? Now we're good friends. But the thing is it something that you pursue, or do you sometimes leave it as it is? Because it's okay as it is.
If you leave it as it is, it's dangerous because it will keep nudging you.
What if
Have
as
you
it is,
seen,
yeah.
there are people, when they get into trouble, they always call this particular person. Yet when they're in good terms, they never. So it's like filling up or a consolation, like there is someone who does it better.
Oof. And that can actually hold you back from
Hold you back from fully expressing or living the present.
I really like what you've said. I feel like most amechomwa kiboko ya wisdom. Because you actually, it's selfish, right?
Yeah, it's selfish.
It's kind of selfish. But my thing is, the way it is right now is more like we can still get together, spend time, talk about work, collaborate, without there necessarily
and
being...
it will keep coming back because you feel like there's this thing, one particular thing
that we still haven't tried.
haven't tried, yes.
But what if you just say, why can't we just remain friends? And you're both okay with that?
Then that's a closure.
Okay.
So you have to work on the closure so that it doesn't affect you.
That you both know, listen, maybe we may have wanted to try, but maybe what we have right now as a friendship is good.
It's good.
Let's not try to do anything else.
Okay. And also wanting to relive moments. Because again, you can remember your favorite auntie when you were 7.
Yeah.
You would want to go visit them now, but the things around that
are no longer there. And so I think bottom line is you have to think about the closure that, sometimes the closure is something you have to make peace with. There's somebody who was in our life now as a family member, and they were a very dynamic, very fun person. Yeah. But over time, they dimmed. Yeah. And sometimes I remember being like...
You want to bring them, that particular person back.
And they'll never come back.
They'll never come back.
Because who they are now and what they went through
has
changed
them. It's like a baby.
It's like a baby.
When they are 2-3 years, they're very warm, like wishing if you could remain a 5-year.
I still feel that way with Huru and Mali.
You see?
When I still hug them and touch them in, I'm like, are you all... I know at some point I'm not going to be able to tuck you in, but I wish, and I've had to already tell myself.
It's the same feeling.
Yeah.
The difference with the relationship, you have a possibility of bringing it back.
Exactly. There's an opportunity. Then
to bring it back. Unlike the others, ikienda
imeenda. So maybe you have to find your own, because sometimes a situation and a person, you get to control how you react to it.
Yes.
So you tell yourself, I need closure. So I'm going to tell this guy, hey, look, I know we've liked each other for a long time, but I would like us to just remain friends. Is it something that you think we can do? Number one. Or if it's with the cousin or the auntie, it's to say, I'm never going to experience auntie so-and-so the same way. Let me release that version of her and accept this new version.
This new version. And it might even be better.
And even if it's not, and you're grieving the other version, you just have to, it's how you react to the situation.
Closure.
Closure.